Hey everyone, so today's video is going to be a little bit different than my normal yoga or human design videos. Might be kind of like a merging of everything, but I really wanted to share part of my healing journey. So very different than what I've really done in terms of like inner work and therapy and things like that in the past. With my healing journey, I worked with a lot of plant medicines, which really opened my consciousness and really like helped me see and perceive the world a lot differently than I was before. But the actual inner work that I have been doing is like inner child work and going into the actual physical body, doing somatic therapy, and going into a lot of childhood traumas and things that have happened in the past. And I might go into a little bit more detail about some of the things that I've gone through, just to show you the impact it has had on my life and how I felt following a lot of my therapy sessions because of what happened in those sessions. So I decided to take a sabbatical and travel around Mexico for a while, and during that time period I felt like it was time for me to kind of go a little bit more in depth and start to face some things, because there were repeating patterns in my life and in my relationships that were really not healthy, things that I were repeating that from my parents' relationships and from other relationships that I've seen from other people that just aren't healthy, and they weren't embodying how I wanted to live my life and the type of partner that I wanted to be for my husband or my partner. And so I decided to do some therapy called completion therapy with Teal, Swan. I know that there's some controversy surrounding her. I can see where some people may find her to be indifferent or weird and may not like her. Intuitively, I felt like even with everything that was going on with her, I felt like it was the correct way for me to proceed with my therapy. I ended up doing an online trauma course with her over the course of 1 or 2 months. And as I was doing that, I said it would be really good to have some support. So I found a certified therapist on her website that does the completion therapy that I felt she had experience in a lot of the traumas and things that I'd gone through in my life that I felt like I could connect with her on. And so I've been working and doing the completion therapy once a week for the last few months, along with that online course with Teal Swan. I finished it 2 months ago, and so much came up with it. So like I said, I can see where some people may not like Teal Swan because they don't have a community or support system as they're digging up really difficult parts from their past, and they don't have that support or they don't know how to process it. So with that being said, if this is something that you're doing or you're interested in doing or you're just curious about learning more about, I want to share more about my process and how I worked through it. So the completion process is a way to dive into the body and find the sensations within the body and see what comes up. And for me, I'm a very visual person and imaginative person, and so when I would go and tap into and be present with different sensations within my body, I would have visuals come up for me. And so for example, one of my first sessions, I forget what the topic was that really came up, but I was taken into this scene of my parents arguing, and part of the completion process is kind of revisiting these traumas where you experience something at a young age and there's an emotion that you had and it wasn't necessarily completed, and so it becomes a part of you that you're constantly seeking or reacting to, and it's like you're seeing through that lens because you haven't really resolved that emotion that you went through. And then once you go into that, you learn how to do that inner child work or reparenting, or depending on what the trauma is that you go back into, you kind of shift your perception and you complete and release that like stuck emotion or trauma. And so for this particular session, there was a scene of my parents arguing, and I as a child, I was like looking around the corner and I was scared and thought it was my fault. And there was like this emotion of like, oh, like there was shame, and like I felt like there was something wrong with me because I thought my parents were arguing about me. And so we paused at that scene, like me and my therapist paused at that scene, and we kind of reparented little Nina at that moment and said, listen, this isn't about you, like. And then I was able to kind of restructure that scene to say, okay, my parents are going to come over and they're going to tell me, like, this argument isn't about you. And there's actually nothing wrong with you. And actually, the healthy way for parents to have an argument is not like this. And this is actually a healthy way relationship should be. And so I was teaching that inner child, that little Nina, like, what was the correct way to do, like, to react to something like that, and then gave her so much love and just nurtured her. And it's going to be different for everyone and what shows up and how you deal with it. Every situation is so unique, but after that, it was like it freed little Nina from worrying that there was something wrong with her. And it also taught her like a healthier way of being in a relationship where it wasn't arguing, and how adults should talk to or like a healthier way that adults can speak to children to let them know like what's going on so that they're not scared. And so that was a really healthy way for me to process that moment in time where I felt traumatized as a child and was holding on to those emotions. And there is one that happened that I did probably a month or so ago, and this is actually pretty vulnerable for me because I'm still processing and integrating it, but I basically went into my closet full of skeletons. And I say that because it was like a 3-hour experience where my body was shaking and I was having like a physical reaction because it was such a shock to my nervous system, because I was going into some trauma and some really big emotions that I had really, really shut down and suppressed for a very, very long time. And so it ended up being this scene where there was like this woman in a room and she was a skeleton, and I was able to like merge with her, and she showed me like I felt her extreme guilt and shame because of her lack of self-care for herself and her life force. And it doesn't necessarily matter, it was just what I felt in that moment and like what she was experiencing, and just the depth of shame and that she felt. And I unmerged from her, and then it was like she didn't want to be seen. And so it took some time, but I needed to lay down because it was like I had opened up a can of worms, and it was really intense for me physically because I knew it was something big. I was going really deep into some dark corners within myself that I had purposely hidden from myself, that I knew was there, but I was too afraid to go into. And so it ended up being like this scene of this like skeleton woman or child like flashing in and out. It was almost like she was testing me, and I was just laying there on the bed, like trying to breathe, like having extreme anxiety as I was working through this like trauma that was coming up that I was going into. And I was drinking a lot of water, and at one point it was like this light started to come in, and I want to say that it was almost like I opened up this closet and all of the darkness that I had kept hidden within myself spread throughout my entire body. And I was just laying on my bed with all of that darkness just in my body. And it was the most intense thing I have ever experienced, even with plant medicine, because I was sitting with all of my fears, all of my shame, all of my guilt, like the darkest parts of myself that I couldn't even look at. And it was intense. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be here forever. Like, I'm going to be messed up. Like, but I mean, I had my therapist there walking me through it, and I was there for like a half hour or so. And then it was like this light started to come in, and it was like that skeleton girl was like flashing in and out. And it was just like, oh, are you going to love me? Are you going to stay here? Like, are you going to be able to sit with the ugliness that's within you? And, there was a moment where I just kept repeating, I'm not going to leave. I'm here. I will always be here. I will always be here. I will always be here. And it was like something broke where this light just like burst out inside of me, and all the darkness like I don't want to say dissipated, it was like it integrated, it like merged together, and I accepted it. And in that moment I experienced like the deepest sense of love that I've ever experienced in my life. And I'm like getting emotional thinking about it, because it wasn't like like rainbows and butterflies love that we think love is about. It was like this unwavering love of, I am here and I will not leave, no matter how ugly it gets, no matter what is inside of you, like I am here for you. And that love was directed towards me. Like it was like the greatest sense of self-love that I've ever given to myself or allowed myself to receive. And I realized that like I never allowed myself to receive that from other people, because I hadn't been able to give that to myself. And in that moment, I like accepted all of me, and it was so beautiful. And I'm just getting emotional thinking about it, because it has had such a profound impact on my life since that experience. And you know, after all of that happened, I was laying there and I had this visual of me sitting on this bench next to my skeleton, and we opened up the window and I said, okay, world, you can see every deep and dark aspect and secret of me, because I don't care. I accept myself, and I accept all of me, and I love all of me, and I will never try to hide or cover up any part of me again. And ever since then, I've been integrating it, and I have felt so like at home within myself and so grounded within myself, and been able to set up boundaries with people and see where I have not been accepting love from other people, and where I have not been, you know, accepting love within myself. And there's been a deeper love and appreciation for myself. I have been like in the state of just bliss and pure gratitude because of this love that I feel within myself. So while the love didn't feel like rainbows and butterflies when it happened in that exact moment, that unwavering love has turned into like this strong love. And that is the lens that I see the world, that is the lens that I see myself now. And the impact of that session, of me really going that deep into the completion process and working through that, like has radically changed everything about my life and the way that I view myself, and the way that I make decisions, and the way that I choose who I spend my time with, or like the decisions that I'm making for my life, you know, career-wise or location-wise or things like that. It's like I feel so at home within myself, where I felt so lost before and I was seeking for things outside of me. And now it's like I feel this empowered sense within myself for life. And it's difficult to explain in words, like this experience, but I hope that you guys are seeing or like hearing in some way the impact that this type of inner work can have on a person. And like I said, it may not be for everyone, but I just wanted to share my experiences because they have been so impactful and life-changing for me. And this trip, I did all of this in a country traveling alone, a woman traveling alone, bouncing around from city to city for 4 months in a country where I didn't, you know, fully know the language in. And so it was very lonely. But for me, I had the support, and I was able to move through all of these traumas, or like to do all of this inner child work. So I hope that this is helpful in some way to somebody, and they're able to, you know, see that there are other ways to do inner work, whether it's through therapy or breath work or plant medicine or the specific somatic therapy or inner child work or completion process or whatever you decide to do. Because like I said, I feel like I've tried everything. I tried all of these diets. I've tried different types of therapy and plant medicine, breath work, and all of that. And I was still having some of these chronic issues. And going into the completion process and doing this type of therapy for the last few months, my digestion has improved. Like these chronic issues that I've had they were just these emotional blocks within my body, and which is why I knew I needed to do this type of work, because I had tried everything on the physical level and even on the spiritual level, and it was like I needed to address these emotional issues and traumas that I had stored within my body that were causing these physical symptoms for me. And my health has just been improving so much since I've started all of these sessions, and that is just like a bonus for me, because I'm feeling better emotionally and mentally and also physically. And it's been a really challenging but such a beautiful experience. So that has been my journey with the completion process. Through Teal Swan and going through her trauma courses and having a certified completion therapist walking me through and doing somatic therapy with me as well. And these are the changes that I've seen so far, and I'm going to continue on with all of this because of the profound impact that it has had on me. So yeah, a little bit different than other videos that I've done, but again, I hope my experience can help others in their journeys. If you're struggling with some things. For the past 10-15 years, I have struggled with so many ongoing chronic health issues and struggled in relationships, and I've done everything that I thought I needed to do in order to like fix myself or whatever, and it was like it wasn't something that necessarily needed to be fixed. It just needed to be acknowledged within me. The like inner child needed to be seen, and she needed to be loved on. And that's just been like the most healing aspect of all of this, is like getting to love on and to nurture and to get to know like little Nina and to know my inner child. And she's like constantly with me all the time, and she's helpful and like guiding me towards what brings me joy and what makes life easy. And so when I'm feeling kind of heavy or low, like this is where I tap in and I say, okay, little Nina, like what do you need in this moment? What can I do for you? And it's been so helpful for me in making decisions that are healthiest for me when there are parts of me that feel scared or nervous in different situations. And I don't know what everyone else's experiences are, but I'd love to hear if you have had experience with any of this. Just leave some notes in the comments below. I'd love to hear all of it. And if you like this video and you want to see more of it, comment below and let me know. This is new to me. I'm in the process of revamping kind of my YouTube channel over the next few months and doing a combination of yoga and human design and inner child work. And I'd love to hear what everyone thinks about this. If this is something that you connect with or you resonate with, or maybe you don't, that's totally fine. Everyone's path and journey is so unique, and everything, works differently for different people, and especially where you're at in your journey. So I totally respect that and appreciate that. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.